Welcome to the Radiant Life podcast. I am your host, Tatiana, and I am a master mindset coach, and I'm obsessed with empowering you to live and create your best life possible. If you're looking to uplevel your mindset, life, happiness, and success, then you are in the right place. My goal with this podcast is to help you see the potential within yourself, to be able to break the limiting beliefs and habits that are holding you back, and to help you feel inspired to get clear with who you are in order to create the life you desire. Thank you so much for listening. Now let's get into today's episode. Hello, good morning, and welcome to the Radiant Life podcast, or good afternoon, good evening, depending on whenever you're listening to this. It is morning for me at the moment. Today's episode, I want to share my story of how I transitioned in careers, in states, and how I pretty much just quit my job, moved to Florida within a 4-week span with no plan, no idea what was going on, and just really show you and explain, my story around it, how I did it, what happened, what came up, how did I just randomly have the courage to do that? Because backstory, I used to really, really want control and have certainty and plan out my future and know exactly how everything was going to happen. And it was a very bad habit for me to have, and I needed to break that. So people who know me back home were very surprised to hear that I just packed up my bags, quit my job, and moved states just like that. It was very, very fast. And yeah, let's just dive into it. So back in 2017, that's when I started learning about the law of attraction. And so at this point, I was a year and a half into my corporate engineering job. I was not happy with my life, my job, who I was. I hated what I was doing. I would cry to work. And in 2017 is when I was losing weight and I started to feel good in myself. And I started to really enjoy the health and fitness industry. And I was doing all this research on the side. And I have a separate podcast explaining my health journey. If you haven't listened to that, go listen to that. It's very powerful. But I was learning about law of attraction, and I was kind of getting a desire, a little hunch, a gut feeling on maybe, just maybe, I could be in the health and fitness industry. Like, I'm really interested in it. I had a passion in it. And another backstory, I wasn't fully passionate about engineering. I just did engineering because, I went to college because that was the thing you had to do. And I was a sophomore in college and I had to pick a major, and I knew I was good at math. And it was either engineering or a math major because I had no idea. I talked to a girl in school and she's like, well, industrial engineering is good. You get to make things efficient and you get to help companies. And I always had a desire to help people. And I live by efficiency. If you know me, you know I say, go the hypotenuse, not the legs. Because, well, if you remember in trigonometry, the hypotenuse will get you there faster, less time or less length. So I always say that. I'm always about efficiency. So I was like, you know what? Okay, cool. I'm going to do engineering. Once I did 1 or 2 semesters, I was like, okay, I'm already too deep in. I'm just going to finish this. Everybody was telling me, wow, you're so good. You're going to make a lot of money. You're smart. So many people were surprised I was doing engineering because people thought I was stupid growing up. And I wanted to challenge myself, and I wanted to make money, and I wanted to make an impact. So I was never fully passionate about engineering. I just did it because, unfortunately, that's what we're programmed to do is, go to school again, get a degree, get a job, to work your life. And even if you're not interested or you love it, that's okay. And then, you work that for how many years and you retire. And I thought that was normal. I really thought it was normal to hate your job and not really be interested in it because it paid the bills, right? So for now, all of a sudden, bringing it back to I was working, but yet on my off time, my lunch breaks, I was listening to health and fitness podcasts or doing research, learning more about nutrition and macros and how to really do this. Like, I was just really getting so interested in it. And back in August, I was on a vacation to the Dominican Republic, and I was reading the book The Secret. I don't know if you've heard of it. There's a movie. It's like the intro to Law of Attraction. For me, it was. My friend had recommended it, and I was like, okay, I'm going to read this, right? That's kind of when I was getting big into podcasts and really shifting my mindset, because I started feeling good because I'd lost weight and just wanting to make a change. I didn't want to be miserable and depressed and anxious, and I was just so over it. I was like, I need to make a change. I can't live like this anymore. So as I was reading that on the beach, I began to kind of implement what it was telling me to. And I began to close my eyes and picture myself becoming a personal trainer and even an online coach, because I was following a few people on Instagram at that time when the online coaching industry was starting to be a thing, and fitness influencers, it was starting to, become a thing. So I was like, I want to do this. I want to get into the fitness and health industry, and I want to help people. So I would just picture it. And I still didn't like my job, but I started to shift my perspective. And one day, honestly, there was an ad for this personal training certification that I wanted, and it was a bundle. So the bundle was, you get your your nutrition specialization with your personal training certification. So pretty much I saved $500. And I was like, this is a sign from God that this is what I need to be doing, right? So I did it. That day, I went home from work. I called the personal trainer at my gym just to make sure that it was credible. It's NASM, very credible. And I just did it. And I just went, you know what? I'm not going to do it. I can do this. It was the first time I truly started to believe in myself. So I would study during work, lunch, breaks, home. I was grinding. And then eventually, I believe it was in September, November, October, I got the opportunity to work at the gym that I used to work out at part-time. And as I was still studying, I got my certification in November. They give you like a 30 or 90-day period. And I loved it. I absolutely loved it. I would find so much joy and passion and energy when I would go in. And mind you, I was going in after a full days of work. Yet I had so much more energy and joy, a huge smile across my face, right? And it was like, okay, I got to pay attention to this, because my body, my energy, I was shifting. I was like, maybe I can do this. Maybe I can make a full career job, even though everybody was like, can you pay the bills? Like projecting, their own fears and insecurities. I just felt it. I was like, this feels so good. So I did that for a couple months, a little over half a year. And in between that, I was prepping and I got into a bodybuilding show. But at the same time, my heart has always, since I was a child, desired to leave Boston. I always wanted to go to San Diego. I always dreamed of going to USC, the University of Southern California, the Trojans, and I never did that. But I always had that like in my heart. And I began to be like, you know what? I'm just going to move. I'm going to change my life. And honestly, people would laugh at me when I said that, because they were like, okay, Tati, yeah, you keep thinking that, you keep saying that, whatever. And I was like, okay, that's fine. Like, part of me really believed it, but part of me was like, would I actually do this? I don't really know. But I kept saying it, and I felt it, and I spoke it, and I would imagine it. So this goes on, we're getting into 2018 now. I began to prep for my bodybuilding show that I was hustling for. And when I mean hustling, you guys, I mean I'm waking up at 4 a.m. to go to the gym to work out, to then shower there, go to my full-time engineering corporate job, work a full day there, and then from there go back to the gym to train clients. And sometimes I would have to work out after clients or at lunch at work. Like, it was a full hustle mode. I was in such a grind because I just had such a fire and desire in my heart to make a change, because I knew, I was like, I can't be miserable my whole life. Like, I really was just like, it just doesn't seem like that's how we're supposed to live. And as I was doing that, my job stayed the same. I was still not interested in it, no passion. I wasn't being challenged. I didn't feel like I was honestly getting appreciated or valued at what I could have been bringing to the table, or even when I did. And then I hit a turning point. Oof, this turning point, right? I was called in to a room by my boss, and he sat me down and he was like, okay, we need to talk. You know when someone tells you that and your heart just drops and you're like, oh no, what did I do wrong, right? And he goes, you can't be leaving at 4 p.m. anymore. It just doesn't look good, and it's not fair to everyone else. You need to stay at least until 4:30. like everybody else. And mind you, I was coming in between 30 to 60 minutes earlier than everyone else to make sure I got my work done, because I got the okay prior to this that I could come in early so I could leave a little early so I could go home early to go to my second job, right? Like I got approval for that. And as he's sitting there, anger, frustration, embarrassment was coming up. And I honestly was like getting teary-eyed because I was like, what? Like, I didn't do anything wrong. Why is this? I would get to work sometimes at 7:45 and some of my coworkers were coming in at 9 a.m., right? Like I was paying my dues. I was getting my work done. Sometimes I would be done with work at 3 or 3:30 and I would just have to sit there at my desk until 4. And then when this happened, until 4:30, just because I quote unquote like made the time, even though I got all my work done. And I was just like, I have had enough. I'm done with someone taking control of my time, my schedule, my income. I just couldn't do it anymore. I just hit a point, and that was my turning point. I was just so upset, and it was just so embarrassing. I was so angry. So I said, okay, I commit. I'm going to get out. Like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Remember, at this point, it had been like, I don't know, maybe like 9 months now that I kept saying, you know, imagining myself becoming a full-time personal trainer and eventually an online coach, and telling myself I wanted to move. And I was like, it's going to happen. I just had to have faith. And then about a week or two later, I got an email from a friend, because I had previously went to Miami for a job interview for a weekend, just for honestly shits and giggles. I just wanted to get a feel, but I started imagining myself living there, right? And then a week after that, I got an email from a friend, and he's like, look at this apartment. This is really, really cool. And I was like, you know what? Go there, tour it, record it for me. And he was like, what? No way. Because when I went to visit, he did not believe I was going to leave Boston. He's like, no way. Tati's all talk, right? So he went, recorded my apartment. I showed it to my sister. And within 24 to 48 hours, I genuinely forget, we signed the lease. I said, you know what? I'm done. I'm doing this. This is my moment. I'm going to do it. We signed the lease. We sent it in. The next day I walked into work. I asked my boss, you know, can we chat for a second? And I go, I'm putting in my notice. I'm giving you 4 weeks notice, but I'm moving to Florida and I'm just going for it. And he was shocked. I mean, his jaw dropped. He probably was like, wait, what? Like, you never really talked about this. I thought your trip to Miami like 2 or 3 weeks back was just for fun, which it was, but they didn't know I went for an interview. I just did that honestly because it was an expense trip by the interviewer. So it was for fun, but it just hit me. I was like, I'm meant to be here. I can do this. I'm going to leave, right? It gave me that fire. I was able to imagine and picture myself in Florida. And I just went for it. So I put in my notice, and it was a bumpy, crazy, hectic ride after that, because, you know, I had to train people on what I was doing. And within a 4-week window, I had put my notice in, started packing up because I was moving. I had my bikini bodybuilding show in the beginning of June, got LASIK the week after my show. So I had to take a few days off for my recovery. And then July 5th, we went to drive to Florida. And mind you, when I went to Florida with my friend, I was in Miami. I did not know, I had never heard of the town I was moving to. I had not visited it. I had never seen my apartment in person. I had no job lined up. I had no idea. All I knew was I paid first month. I had some savings. And I was just going to go for it. And I was going to reach my dreams. And that's when I invested in a business coach, my first big investment. And I'm not talking about like a couple $100. I'm talking about, I'll be honest, I was $6,000. And I was like, oh my God, okay. So that's out of my savings. But I wanted to do this because I wanted to get in the online world. I wanted to help more people and work online. And I was fine with working remotely, but I had no job lined up. So I moved, and I had faith. At the end of the day, I had faith. I was like, I know God's putting these desires in my heart. I know He presented this opportunity, this apartment. Mind you, the apartment, my friend recorded and sent to me is the same apartment I'm at right now, recording this to this day. And this place will always have my heart because it's completely changed me, right? And I just had faith and I had to go for it. And so that's my story. That's how I quit my job, moved to Florida. I'll make another episode on how I actually was able to make the transition from engineering to an online coach, because that's a whole other story and I don't want to make this one too long because that's been a whole bumpy ride, crazy journey as well. But this was my journey and I look back on it now and I just am still so amazed that what I used to picture back in 2017 of me becoming an online coach, me walking on the beach in the morning and watching the sunrise, me just having flexibility of my schedule, my time, my income, I'm living that now. Like I am fully living that. I have manifested it. I have co-created it with God because he presented the opportunities and I put the work in, I put the effort in, and I'm here now. And I'm so happy of what I'm doing. I have no regrets, like absolutely none. Everything just fell into place perfectly. I'm a little shocked now, like telling myself the story and recording this for you guys right now, because it's still so crazy how much I changed my life from working in an engineering job, like crying to work 3 times a week to my mom, to now waking up and creating my own schedule and impacting everyone I come in contact with, my clients, those online. Like it's just I'm such a different person. If you're listening to this and you saw me during this transition, like this was real. I showed it all online. And you can have this too. So I want to end this with a reminder that if you're stuck, if you're unfulfilled, if you're confused with who you are, what you want in life, you're unhappy with your job, your living situation, your career, it is never too late to make a change. Doesn't matter how old you are, doesn't matter how long you've been at your job, your house, relationship, like you can make a change. And if this episode is reminding you that you've been having something on your heart for a while now, or maybe recently, remember, if it's on your heart, it's there for a reason. It's meant to be yours, but you get to choose if you're going to go after it or not. And yeah, it's been a crazy ride. Yeah, there's been some scary times. There's been ups and downs. But again, I wouldn't change anything about it because it's built me to the woman I am today. And I'm so much more happier, fulfilled, and just high on life because of it. And you can have these feelings too. This is what I love to get to do with my clients, because we were not put on this earth to be miserable and hating our life and our career. Like we're not. Okay, we're not. So if that's how you're feeling, it's time to get unstuck. And if this is resonating with you, send me a message. So you can send me an email. It's in the description box below, or send me a DM. Again, my Instagram is Tatiana_Kuto. I would love to share more of my story and see how you can get there too, because you are worthy of it. You deserve it. And if I can do it, you can do it too. Let me just state that out there. If I can do it, you can too. Okay? Well, thank you so much for listening. I really appreciate your love and support. If you've been following along my journey the last few years, thank you. If this episode was valuable to you, if you loved hearing my story, take a screenshot, share it with me, tag me on Instagram, and I cannot wait to connect with you in the next episode. In the meantime, go out there. Remember, you're worth it. If this is sparking a fire, journal about it, write it down, and start making moves, because you can make a change too. All right. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with me and write an Apple iTunes review so I can keep the good stuff coming your way. If you aren't following me already, you can find me on Instagram at Tatiana_Kuto. I appreciate you so much and cannot wait to see you in the next episode. In the meantime, continue to shine bright and embrace your radiance.